Hey everyone, I wanted to do another shorter video log based on a question that I just received yesterday. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the question out loud to you. It's a question that I've gotten a few times fairly regularly, and then I'm going to give my own response to that question. And my response basically just reinforces what a lot of other people have said with regards to a question like this. So let me read it to you. Just 1 second. I won't say who asked me it or anything like that, but I got it on my training forum, and somebody asked me, I am confused on how you leaned out and got stronger. Okay, and what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you a before picture in July of 2010 when I was 5'4", I'm still 5'4", and 180 pounds, and an after now when I'm same height obviously, but I'm usually weighing close to competition. My weight will usually be between 150 and 155 in the morning, so I've dropped a good 25 pounds or so over the last couple of years, and so he wants to know how I leaned out and got stronger. I feel like you have to eat in a surplus to gain strength. Are you saying that you did not eat a lot? Kind of. I guess I am just asking you to elaborate on how you improved that much without gaining size. Looking at your frame before, it was obvious that you had a decent amount of muscle to work with in the first place. I am sure you would agree that someone extremely small and lanky doing strength training will not improve as someone that is stocky already with a decent amount of muscle. Alright, so let me just let me first deal with the first part of that question, and so I told him that I went from like a 1050 total in the summer of 2010 before I had really started training for powerlifting specifically. So I had like a 1050, 1100 total to now my best gym lifts equal out to 1395. 1385 with the pause bench, and did all those last month. So his question is, how do you lose 20 to 25 to 30 or however many pounds I've lost within a span of a couple years, and put several hundred pounds on your total? And the simple answer is effort, okay? And there is a lot of rhetoric out there about how you have to be on a surplus to gain strength. And you see people putting on massive amounts of weight. Most of it isn't good weight, weight that they'll have to strip away anyway if they're competing in any weight class-based sport, not just strength training, or not just powerlifting or strongman or Olympic lifting or anything like that, not just any strength-based sport. And so there's a prevailing rhetoric out there about how you got to eat a lot of calories to get stronger. You got to maximize new gains, right? And you can't gain strength on a deficit, okay? All right, you can't gain strength on a deficit, because when you eat on a deficit, you're getting smaller, okay? And when you're getting smaller, you are losing strength and not gaining strength. But the truth is, most of us are in such a pitifully low position, okay? In other words, most of us are such pitifully weak specimens that we can gain strength no matter what. The answer is, you gotta try a little harder in training, okay? I've trained while on a surplus, and it's great, okay? It feels fantastic. I've trained when on a deficit, which happens a lot with me, a very slight deficit, especially leading up to a meet, and it doesn't feel fantastic sometimes, okay? But you do it anyway, you do it to the best of your ability, you suck it up when you really need to, and you just figure things out, okay? Strength, as everyone knows, isn't just equated with muscle mass, okay? It's not just a matter of bigger muscles equaling more muscle fibers and greater cross-sectional area and improved leverages and all that jazz, okay? It's also a matter of neuromuscular adaptation, and you can get stronger while losing weight if you are putting in effort, okay? And I think a lot of people when they talk about programming and they talk about their diet and they talk about how it is that I've gained strength while losing weight, or I've gained strength while staying in the same weight class, and they wonder why that is. What they're not asking is how hard did I bust my ass to be able to do this over the last few years? And to answer that question, the question that I don't get asked, is pretty fucking hard, okay? And if you want to reach the top of a sport like, say, powerlifting, you're gonna have to bust your ass. You're gonna have to work hard, okay? I know there is a cult of overtraining that exists out there in the world of powerlifting. I know that there are those that say that you can only train X number of times per week, okay, and if you train any more, that's going to overtrain you. And I know at this point you've probably seen videos of people that have debunked that and said that it's a load of BS and don't listen to it. And overtraining is a stupid term, and I don't necessarily dismiss it as a stupid term. I just think that most people aren't in a position to overtrain themselves because their work capacity isn't strong enough, number one. And number two, I think most people psychologically will quit before they reach a state of fatigue that is consistent with overtraining. Neurological fatigue, okay? We're not talking about a muscle ache, we're talking about serious neurological fatigue, which is characteristic of overtraining, okay? You gotta train often, you gotta train hard. I train 7 days a week. I train hard pretty consistently, okay? I do a lot of work in my training, and I'm trying constantly to do a little bit more, all right? I try to stress everything. It's not just the main movements, it's the accessory work as well. Problem that I see in a lot of people's training is they come in, they've got their main movements programmed out, and then what do? They go do their accessory work, and they do whatever they feel like for that day, okay? And they train by feel, so they do what feels heavy. Here's an idea, okay? Here's an idea, and try this out, okay? Even think about it as a hypothetical, and think about what might happen, all right? Let's say you picked 5 accessory exercises, and those 5 accessory exercises are all that you're going to do for the next 3 months. All right, so you're only going to do those 5, and you're going to progress in a linear manner. All right, so you're going to go in, you're going to do an accessory movement for X number of reps with Y weight, and then the next week you're either going to increase the repetitions or you're going to increase the weight. All right, you're just going to constantly be building on what you've done before. All right, and the goal is to get as high as possible in 3 months' time. Now, if those 5 accessory exercises coincide with your weaknesses, you think you're going to improve your weaknesses? The answer is yes, okay? And most people, they just go through the motions when they do their accessory work. You might feel like you're working hard, but it is crazy to me that that someone can have so regimentally programmed their main movements, but then with their accessory work, they just go in and see how they feel. Then they do whatever they want, okay? You gotta take it seriously, and you gotta train hard, and you gotta force progress, all right? There are moments in your training career in which progress has to be forced, and I've thrown this term around before, and it's a term that I like because I've had to do it myself. You know, my bench didn't move for a couple of years, and so what I had to do is I had to press 3 times a week, and then I just had to figure out what I needed for my bench press, and the answer was just bench more and more and more and more and more, and find a way to do that. So I used paused work with lower intensity, and it ended up working. And that was my way of forcing progress, okay? Just hammering that lift until I got it right. I'm doing the same thing now with glute day. I'm just gonna go in, I'm gonna kill myself every Friday doing my glute work. I'm gonna see for 3 months or so whether or not that solves my lockout issue. I don't imagine it'll solve it completely, but you know, what the hell, you don't know until you give it a try. So, and you gotta take it seriously. And so I'm just gonna hammer glute accessory work and constantly be building that up week after week, just simple linear periodization. Add 5 pounds on everything, okay? And I'm gonna see what happens with it, and maybe it fixes a weakness. But in the past, I've taken an approach where I've just sort of dabbled in different accessory work and said, well, I need some glute work on this day, so I'll go in and I'll do some barbell hip thrusts and just throw a number out and throw reps out and do it till it feels hard and all of this stuff. But no, you have to take everything seriously. You have to train hard. You have to force progress. All right, you can't be worried about overtraining. Do what your body is capable of, and if you do that, all right, don't worry about the rhetoric about having to be on a surplus. You don't have to be on a surplus. You can do it on a deficit. All right, you can do it however you want. All right. My suggestion is, if you're going to be on a deficit, be on a slight deficit. Lose that weight over time. Be really strict about your diet to make sure that you're eating only a slight deficit. All right, that'll minimize strength loss, and you just have to train hard and train consistently. The more time you take off from the gym, in my experience, the worse you feel when you're training on a deficit. So you got to be in the gym. You got to be in there consistently. You got to be doing the main movements. You got to be keeping up with your GPP. You got to be doing all that stuff. So that's my answer. The one thing that never gets discussed, that never gets reinforced in training programming is effort, and effort matters, okay? All right, numbers are great. You read somebody's training log, you've got a bunch of numbers there, but you don't see effort, okay? You don't see how they're working, and effort is what matters. So if you're stalling out, don't blame the programming, okay? It could be the programming's fault, but don't blame the programming, all right? Don't blame your body. Don't blame your parents' genetics. A lot of people like to talk about, the fact that so-and-so can train X number of days per week because they have great genetics, their genetics allow it. Maybe it's also effort, okay? Effort might have something to do with it. So don't blame any of these external factors, okay? First, look at effort. Always look at effort first. Am I putting forth an adequate amount of effort? Can I be doing more in my training? Ask yourself those questions, and you might not like the answer that you get, but it might be the right one. Keep checking in. I'll have more videos for you soon.